sheet that says chosen to change the atmosphere. All right? And that's kind of another way of saying you have influence. All right? That one may be on your paper there? Okay. Got that? All right. Chosen to change the atmosphere? All right. That's the full sheet right there. We've got a few for you. So what I want to do is just throw that out and again connect it with Daniel. So we all, like Daniel, whether we're 8 or 18 or 28 or 58, we all have an opportunity to make a shift. That could be in our Bible study group. It certainly is at workplace. All of that. We all have an opportunity for that. And this sheet just again reminds us of that. Biblically, there's that powerful verse in Peter which says, reminds us who we are. And a lot of, and see, that was the skill of Daniel, the Hebrew boy. When you know who you are, it doesn't matter what they call you. Now we can go there, Pastor, and talk about how they renamed the Hebrew boys. You realize they renamed them. All right? Daniel's original name was Belshazzar. All right? They called him Daniel, which we called. And he was all right, because I know who I am. Right? And that's tough. And then we know Shadrach, Meshach, and the bad Negro, right? So all of those things, you realize society is trying to name you and take away who God has destined you to be. So the reality is that, so interesting, the king, you know, when Babylon captured Israel and God's people, they kind of said, hey, let's take their, so they caught a lot of people, but then they took their 4 best, and the king said, I want them next to me. Not realizing the fact that he took them, he brought in some seasoning in the food that he didn't expect, all right? So he's saying, I'll take you and make you mine. And God is saying, I'm going to use mine to change your atmosphere, right? So now Daniel comes along with these very practical things, and the Hebrew boys, and they actually long-term influences the entire culture. That's big. But guess what? They didn't do it with big stuff. They started with small things like just how we eat, how we look, how we talk, how we dress. Pastor, you said a thing that we're not going to, we're not dealing with the dress situation. But again, on the big concept of influence, ladies and men, okay, again, I'm going to lay it down. I didn't come to waste your time. I don't have time to waste. All right? Now let's be straight. You got straight men looking feminine. Because we are falling for a culture, all right, of designers who are now designing men's clothes to make us look female or feminine. But yes, it's popular, so at school, I don't want to look weird, so even though I don't like it, I'm wearing it, even though it makes me look feminine. Right in my church, some guys are trying to, and again, every now and then it hits me. Some guys are trying to hurry across the street because a big delivery truck was coming up. And they all were sagging real bad. Of course, sagging up like a baby with a loaded diaper. That's so sad. And they can't run because, but then the pants are made like that. I was telling one guy a few years ago, pull it up. He said, I can't. It's made that way. So guess what? Even we in church, we want to be popular, so we go to the same stores and we buy that which funds the same people who are designing instead of, guess what? So now I can't find some clothes to look proper, guess what? Ministry opportunity, also a business opportunity. Make some clothes because there are lots of folk that don't want to wear what's out there. I'm talking too real to you now. So again, you can't find music to listen to? Write it. Somebody is praying for the song that God has put in your heart. All right? I'm getting very real with you. Guess what? These boys didn't wait around and say, hey, listen, I just wish. No, well, wish is a good place. And you can take that and partner with people and make an impact. So every difficulty is an opportunity for impact. And it pulls out what God has downloaded for the kind of character and conduct that society is hungry for. Listen, a company in Chicago, a doctor friend of mine said, Coleman, would you come with me do a presentation? He was doing a presentation on healthful living. He's a Seventh-day Adventist doctor. And this company now was saying, come in and tell our people basic things on how to eat, morning meals, noon meals, and evening meals. Just basic stuff that you believe. And water and all of those things. He said, Coleman, would you come in and talk about, heard me do a presentation. We went into a secular company Because companies are hungry for people of character, because they know they're going to save money, they're going to build team spirit. If they get, so we talked about, I did a presentation on how to be someone in your job that makes a positive influence on your workplace. So I used biblical stuff and put it in business terminology, and they paid me a little money. It's out there, it's waiting. You have a blank slate. Guess what? Moses and Joshua and Daniel have never lived in Toronto and has never lived in 2014. You and I have awesome potential. And instead of living back there, their conduct and their examples are to propel us to say, what can we do now? All the greats never lived now. This Saturday, this weekend has never happened before. All right? So we've got a blank slate to create some awesome things, and each of you are getting great gifts to step in. So with the sheet in front of you, the opportunity with influence reminds us of, listen, the Bible teaches that every one of us, without age limit, are created for ministry. We're created to save individuals for ministry. We're called to ministry. We're gifted for ministry. We're authorized, commanded, prepared, needed, and accountable. So with that done, what's up? That's like somebody putting in your hand a few billion, forget million, that was 70s, 80s. Somebody putting in your hand a few $1 billion. All right? So now you're entrusted with opportunity. All right? You think of the people that are, you think of the companies that are needed. You think of the big needs in a city or a region like this. Then you say, hey, I can be responsible. I have enough for myself to live comfortably, but now let me pull some things together with that money, some teams together. Let me now use that gift. Well, what God has given to us is worth more than billions, and especially if we collaborate with each other. A lot of Christians don't get a lot done in leadership because we're all working against instead of with each other. All right? Let me just give you a story here. It was actually the weekend that pastor and lady got married in Toronto. My sons and I were here for the wedding. My wife and daughter were in Connecticut with another friend's wedding. So we're traveling back to Chicago. And my daughter calls me because they got back early and said, Dad, guess who I just ran into? And this is one of the young ladies who were in our church some years ago. And she said, hey, Shibley, I'm getting married. She said, well, that's great. Can I come? She said, well, we're just kind of doing it downtown. Shibley said, oh, you're better than that. Downtown? Did you really? Is that what you wanted? So, Nadine said, no. She said, hey, you know who I am? She said, well, yeah, you're Leeroy Coleman. Well, whose am I? She said, well, you're Pastor Coleman's daughter. What does that mean? She said, no, you're looking at a person whose dad is a pastor. He can hook you up. So Nadine said, well, she said, come on, Nadine. Would you really like a judge who don't know you? Would you like a church? One call, and I can help you out. Nadine said, okay, call. So Shipley said, I'll get back with you in a few hours. So we're driving. We're really past Detroit, headed to Chicago, and I'm on the phone, and my boys in the back playing games and all of that, what have you. And I got Nadine on the phone, and the boys hollered at her. She said, hey, get married with her. I said, hey, Shipley says, you'd like us to do it up. And she said, well, Pastor, I said, wait. Don't overlook your resources. All right? Now, I'm saying that to say that you and I, gifted, and all the challenge we have of a world that's gone crazy. The craziness is an opportunity for crazy ministry. But many times we're intimidated, bad. It's so bad. Well, all the bad, and guess what? Hold up. Here's a concept we're going to come to in Matthew 7. The darker it gets, all you need in the darkness is a little light. You don't even need a big fluorescent flashlight. You just need a little candle. That's it. And then you add a few more, and it's over. Is that right? So I'm on the phone with Nadine, and Nadine said, well, Pastor, my fiance, we knew him, really nice guy and everything. I said, hey, girl. I said, what would you like to do? You tell me. Of course, she really briefed me on it. I said, y'all like to get married. You're planning to do it Wednesday. I said, how about if you hold off on a couple of weeks? We put something together for you nice. Well, Pastor, we don't have any money. I said, I didn't have to give you any money. Man, you're talking to your pastor. I was there from you were two. I knew you from you were two. I know your mom and dad are good friends with me. They're in Florida, all of that. I said, just tell me, do you want a church wedding? Yes. Okay, it's done. I said, I want you all to meet me and Sister Coleman by Starbucks in Matson, Illinois. All right? And of course, this is Sunday, so we're going to meet on Tuesday. We met at Starbucks, sat down, and in half an hour had the wedding planned out. We're ready to go, and a gentleman behind overhears the conversation. Right when we're sitting down, I call the musician, I call the pastor of the building, who's a friend of mine. I said, I need your church, man. Said, by we got up, everything was in place. And by that evening when they got home, she got a dress, got the musician, everything. And it was blown away. By the time they got there, by the time we did the wedding 2 weeks later, it looked like this wedding had been planned for a year. There was nothing missing. What am I saying? I'm saying that you and I are like Nadine. All right? We forget that we know a God who gave us the gifts and opportunity, and he just said, what's wrong with? Call me. I've got endless amounts. God got connections. God has connections. He can take a drunk man and bless you. He can take a king like Nehemiah and say, me, what do you want me? I'll give you the wood, I'll give you travel, I'll give you the carts, I'll give you everything to build a wall. So when Nehemiah left Persia and went to Jerusalem, there was nothing that he did not need. And guess what? In terms of leadership can be scary. But God says, listen, I'm choosing you to make a difference. And I think that's the best way we can break down leadership this afternoon. You and I are in an opportunity. And that's scary. That's okay. That's normal. But God says, I want to do exceedingly abundantly through you. I'm going to do it for you, but I want to do it through you. Is that making sense? So on our sheet, it's just reminding us that we can shift the atmosphere. All right? We can shift by character. We shift it because we got a God who's got an endless supply, right? You with me? All right? We can shift it because there are many of us, when we come together, we can make a significant difference. A lot of times, because we don't work together, things are spread out and we're not as effective. All the gifts that God has given the church, that's why it's to be a church, is supposed to work together. They're not to be in isolation. But when they come together, it's like an army. You know the old song, like an army moves the church of God. Brothers, we are treading where the saints have trod. Yeah, and so that's the key thing to keep in mind. Here it is on the sheet. It says, could you imagine? We are shaped for ministry. But guess what? Satan came in, and by the influence of the world, he's trying to convince you that you've got another agenda. So you got your own little personal preference. I like to do that. I like this. I like to buy this. And that's okay. But those things have taken over your mind, and you've lost sight of the purpose you are here.